Hey folks, the annual Grand Theft Auto Speedrunning Marathon event is taking place very soon, and it is shaping up to be a very exciting show. It's going to feature all of the mainline Grand Theft Auto games, as well as some GTA-inspired games like Saints Row and Watch Dogs. And as somebody who doesn't know anything about GTA speedrunning, I sat down to chat with the head of the event, EnglishBen, to talk about what they're up to and why you should tune in.
It begins this Saturday. We have 2 days of pre-show on the Saturday and Sunday, so May 7th. And then it's going to run, the main show is running from the Monday until the following Sunday. So 9 days total, 2 days pre-show. We try and showcase every main GTA speedrun if there's a sort of, competitive category that most people will either watch or be familiar with. So ultimately, if you're a fan of the franchise, you'll be able to see your favorite game be ran. It might be in a 100% setting, it might be in an any percent, beat it as fast as you can. It might be collecting. We do bingo sometimes as well, where the runners just try and beat predetermined goals. So yeah, there should be a bit of everything.
Another great thing about this show is that even if you can't catch it live, they preserve every run on their YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch it at any time. Now, if you've never seen GTAMarathon before, you might have a few questions looking at the lineup. After all, it's a bunch of GTA games, and many of them even appear multiple times in the schedule. So I asked Ben how the event is going to stay fresh throughout the week, and even year over year.
Sometimes the game does that for you. Sometimes you don't need to do anything at all, because a really big strategy will be found, and a new route will be discovered that will be faster, and it will switch up how the game is done. So even someone who's like, I've watched GTA Marathon since the beginning, this is just going to be another GTA San Andreas run, I've seen it all before, it's going to be so boring, I might even skip it. And then they'll start the game and it'll be nothing like they've ever seen before. So sometimes that happens. But obviously from our end, there are still things that we have to do. And one of them might be as simple as changing things like, for example, we might not show a 100% speedrun every single year because there are several different categories, and we want to sort of have, X amount of hours of a game, but showcase different variants of how you can speedrun it. The other way might be showing different versions of that game itself. We have a showcase of the mobile port that was on the Windows Store and things like that, sort of more niche and crazy things that you can do. One thing that we're doing that we haven't done in a number of years is we're going to have a quiz. So it's going to be a sort of trivia round, and anyone can participate, and we'll use a Twitch extension, and we'll have rewards for who knows the most. But every event is so different, and especially with the way GTA works and how sort of random it can be sometimes. We have all sorts of highlight reels of crazy things happening. You'll have like a speedrunner just riding his bike on a mission and a plane will just hit them out of nowhere. Like, you never know what's going to happen at GTA Marathon. So yeah, there is always a reason to stay engaged.
Something else that I learned in my conversation with Ben is that GTA speedrunning actually has a pretty significant history, and the origins of GTA Marathon are just as interesting.
A common fact that a lot of people aren't too familiar with is that Speedrun.com was created by a GTA runner, and Pac, he was part of our community for the longest time. And the GTA leaderboards were used as testing for the first iteration of Speedrun.com. We have been around since day one in pretty much every iteration that speedrunning's seen. So yeah, the marathon began in 2014, I believe. And it was essentially just two speedrunners at the time, Eidgod and Just Shans. And they wanted to sort of put on a show, So there was all these different people doing all sorts of GTA speedruns, and they wanted to put on a show throughout the week. And that sort of vision is what we've stuck by the whole time. So as the speedrunning communities grow larger and larger, and we have things like GTA 5, which has like its own incredibly large community that rivals the entirety of GTA speedrunning itself because of how large it is, we still want to bring that back into the community and showcase it. The same goes with, people who run the much older games, the 2D ones, your first Grand Theft Auto and GTA 2. You want to have all of these people coming together. And that's what the vision has come through the whole time. So even though, yes, we've grown in terms of how we run the production and, how many people are involved in the staff and the crews, the vision has remained the same. And that's like the most important thing for me.
As somebody who knows barely anything about GTA speedruns, another thing I asked Ben is what speedruns in particular to be on the lookout for in this marathon. I feel like marathons can be overwhelming in that sense sometimes, right? Like, how do I choose what to watch if I can only watch a couple of runs? So this is what he told me.
So two that immediately spring to mind is a sort of recent, not so recent discovery, but a sort of change in route has allowed San Andreas to have a massive amount of skips. Essentially, there's a sort of first segment of the game, and it's usually around an hour and 10 minutes. And it's a lot of tutorial missions. Some people see it as quite boring compared to the rest of the run, which is around 4 hours. So a pipe dream for the longest time was figuring out how to skip some of these missions, but it was never faster or the setups were very annoying. But recently, a discovery was made that allowed a lot of skips to be done with these missions, where you can skip to the point where I think the world record now for that segment is around 49 minutes compared to an hour and 10. So yeah, we're talking around like a third of the very boring missions are now completely gone. So that's been huge in San Andreas, and that will be the first time that route is ever being showcased in a marathon. And another one that springs to mind is GTA 4, the 100% run. It's quite long. We're talking around 9 or 10 hours. But the brilliant thing about it is that usually, not that 100% runs are particularly easy, but they become a lot easier when you can follow a specific route. You know, you collect this car at this point, you collect this hidden item here, you complete this mission. It's all very linear. GTA 4 has around 8.5 of those hours as completely non-linear. So depending on what happens in the run, things are faster than others. So there's no route, it's purely you just playing based on your talent and you making those, macro decisions as to what is faster and what would benefit you more. So Sam, who's going to be doing it for us, is going to be playing the first hour or so with notes, and then the rest of it is completely based on intuition, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
So there you go, folks. 2 recommendations to check out. The San Andreas run is happening on May 9th by Folix, and the GTA 4 100% run is happening on May 10th by Sam. I want to give a tremendous thank you to Ben for agreeing to chat with me. He was so incredibly helpful and obviously very insightful. GTAMarathon 2022 is happening this week. Make sure you tune in. And hey, if you liked this video or speedrunning content in general, be sure to stick around with the channel. I do try to make a variety of speedrunning videos. And until next time, farewell.